Alright guys, welcome back. I'm going to continue the build series here with the second episode. Now, this window here, I forgot to mention this, but it only goes down halfway. And I'll go ahead and show you guys. Last episode we got the car started for the first time and drove it around. Oh, there we go. So, you gotta see when I turn it down, and I still have the power window controls. It only goes down halfway, and it won't go down anymore. And to do that, I think one of the wires in there for the window motor is stuck in there. So I'm going to take that apart and we're going to figure that out. We're going to start this off by removing my plastic dipped covers. I think these are LRB. Yeah, I forgot. So these are LRB covers. We're going to remove them with just an Allen wrench. Go ahead and put them in here. Just twist all of these off. Alrighty. After having gone ahead, removed all of these. Simply like this, it just bolts with these crappy little washer. Gonna go ahead and remove these two. After removing these two, simple Phillips head. Go ahead and pop this top one here. I don't have it glued on or anything in my car, but it just pops right out like this. And then this whole thing just comes right out, and that's the inside of the door. And you can see I had used, I remember, acetone to remove all of the black tar around here, because I don't want any of the weather sealant on here because it causes a mess. And yeah, so after looking at the door here and taking off the panel and everything, you can see the glass and the mechanism for bringing the window up and down. And this is what's causing the issue. The cable, just as I suspected, is stuck. And we're gonna fix this by first turning on the car. Not fully, just racing it, and you're gonna see this move. That took all the tension right out, and then we can move it over. That's good. Now we got to figure out a way to connect that somewhere else. Yeah, so it's not hitting, and this doesn't pull anymore. Alrighty, let's figure something out. To tuck the wire away, I used one of the existing clips that was connected to the car, and I'm highlighting it right now, as well as I used a zip tie through one of the holes up top to hold it in place. So I was able to get it going. Now it goes fully up and fully down. You guys will see here as it goes down. Yep, now it doesn't get stuck. The problem is now it goes extremely slow and then getting stuck. And it's always kind of done this. It's really hard to figure out. So I'm going to take the window out. I'm going to show you guys how to remove the window, as well as we're going to go ahead and re-lube it all with white lithium grease. And we're going to lube the railings all around, and hopefully that works. I've done that before, and it just never really fully works. So let's give it a shot. Alrighty, so I've gone ahead, moved the bolts right there with Phillips. There's 3 of them. When you get the window to this level, you take those 3 out. And then there's these stops here, which I don't know if you guys can see, but in there, let me see if I can show you. These ones here, these stops, there's one on each side, and those block the window, or these stoppers, from sliding it out, so we got to take those 2 out. One last thing before you guys do that is make sure you grab a Sharpie and mark it off, so you know where it left up, because it's very important these go back in the same spot, or else the window, when it goes fully up, it's not going to line up in the same. And here are those pieces removed that came out of the door. Now the glass is ready to be taken out. To take that glass out, I'm going to move the window down here. It's fully down, and then we can go ahead and just grab, just pull up, and the whole window will come out. It's okay to force it, just be careful up there with the rubber, and they're just like that, pop right off. Alrighty, so now to make sure that this works before we put any more effort into it, I'm going to go ahead and turn the car on. And now let's go ahead and turn the window up and down, see if the motor still operates. Okay. So far so good. It operates a little slowly. It's kind of weird because this is a brand new motor that I had installed a year ago and hasn't really been used much since. Now a trick that I have that always works is grabbing some of this silicone lubricant and just spraying it down the rail right here, as well as inside the door, inside that rail. You can kind of see it in there, and look at the difference, guys. Just by doing that alone, I can go ahead and Another thing that I would recommend doing, guys, is this rail inside here, which is a rubber rail that goes inside all the way up here. It's just the molding for the door trim. It's a one whole piece. This one will wear down, and it's good to keep it lubricated. So I'm gonna first go ahead and wash get a blue cloth towel, go through the whole inside just to clean it out, and then I'm gonna spray it with some of the silicone lubricant inside, just to kind of lubricate it and keep it lubricated. And just by going in there through that whole piece of rubber, the towel, this is how much stuff I was able to get out. It's not much, but any friction will cause these windows to slow down. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab the window and put it back on, and apply white lithium grease to these. And the grease that I like to use is a shenanigans grease. If you look at the forums and anywhere, this is the one people recommend most. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply some. Now, before putting the grease on, and I would want to put it on here, which this is a kit from our miata that I had gotten, and I've watched many videos before when I tried to fix the windows, and I'll be honest, none of them worked, even with white grease in the past and the new replacement bushing that you can get. They just really don't work that well, and I've always had issues with my windows, so I'm going to try to fix it once and for all here with this method of using silicone. And the reason for the silicone lubricant is because this will not allow any water to wash it off or anything. This is going to stay there, and it's going to stay there hopefully permanently. So I'm going to go ahead here, and in these rails, just one here, yeah, this rail here, I'm going to go ahead and spray a bunch in. And the whole reason for that is just to kind of wash out some of the old grease that was there before, as well as I'm going to put the new grease inside of this or around this bearing, and as much as I can up top here, and then move the window up and down in it. And then if I have to adjust the railings at all, I will, but I would prefer not to. I'll wash the old grease off. I need to get rid of all of it as much as we need to, as much as we can. That's what it looks like after putting some of the grease on. I also put some up here. If I need more, I'll put more. I think that should be good. Now I'm going to go ahead and install the window. So it's just going to go right in the way we took it out. So I went ahead, put the window back on, and I tightened up the bolts for the rails as well. I had to do some adjustments with it. It's pretty much a pain. I would say that the rail that goes right here, the most important one, so adjusting these two bolts is critical. So that requires the most adjustments. The other ones are usually fine, but after putting it in, it works fine. Now I did just notice that this mirror had fallen off, so it's wobbly, so I'm gonna go ahead and glue that back on. This is how the mirror was glued on. It comes with these two double-sided tape circles. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace these with actual double-sided tape and put it back on. Now to remove it, I like to use one of these razor blades with a handle. You can get really cheap ones on Harbor Freight, Amazon, or anywhere. I like the ones with this long handle. This is what I use for the windshields too when I clean them. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna go ahead here and just grab it and just scrape it. And be careful of your hands, and that right there is good enough. We got most of it off. If you keep going, you can get the rest off, and it actually won't even scratch the glass because it's actual glass. And if you guys didn't know, this is one of those replacement mirrors you can buy online, I think for like $15-20, because mine had fallen off multiple times from when I got the car. So I bought this one, and it's been good since, until it just fell off. So I would definitely recommend not using this adhesive and sticking to regular adhesive, double-sided tape, and I'll show you guys when I go to install it. Now what I'm going to be using is this 3M, so let's do it. And there we go. I think it's a little bit overkill, but it should do the trick better than those two dots that were there previously. So let's reveal the sticky tape off and put it on the car. Now before we put it on, I wanted to show you guys, this is covered in overspray from the previous paint jobs and everything. So I'm going to show you how to remove it just using the razor blade like we did the other side. So I'm going to lay it flat, and you can see right here where there's a lot of overspray. And a clean brand new razor blade, you can see it coming out. Alrighty, took a while, but I went ahead, removed all the tape, so let's put it on. And just like that, the mirror's all on. Go on to the next thing. So as far as the window, this is how I got it going. It goes down good, but on the way up, it definitely needs some help, and that's pretty standard. I haven't been able to figure out a way to get it and align it better. So you gotta keep pushing it back up to go up, and it's better than before. So I'm just gonna leave it like this No matter how much I tweak them, I can never get it perfect. And I think the car's just so old, and I really don't like this motor. This is the Miata power steering. Power window motor. And I'm just not a big fan. I feel like this is what's causing the issue. Because inside here, there's just a metal wire, and it gives it too much slack, so the window will go sideways. Now, let's go ahead and wrap it all up, put this in. And that's this side done, guys. That was the quick. Now for the other side, I do know that the speaker is not currently working. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to fix that real quick by taking that panel off. Let's do it. I also took the small chance to go ahead and put a small piece of double-sided tape in there, just to hold this top piece, and now it doesn't wobble anymore. Before it'll just fall out. I'll show you guys on the other side. I'll do it to this side as well, but this is what I was referring to. It just wobbles, and when the door goes up, it wants to fly out. So inside there, thin piece of double-sided tape should do it. Alright guys, so I went ahead and took this side panel off as well. Wanted to show you guys the difference between this motor and the other one. The other one is a Miata motor, and this one is the OEM motor from 1996. So go ahead and see, and you can hear the difference as well. When it goes up, down, it goes fast. And it still struggles going up, and I think it's just a mechanism. This is very outdated, and I have refreshed that, replaced the bushings and everything. Even with the Miata ones back there, just like the other side. But here, this is what I was referring to, that this side uses the bushing that slides up in the rail for the middle one, and the Miata one uses a wire, a metal wire that goes up and down, and it gives it too much slack. That's why the other side struggles a lot more than this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix the speaker now, because this speaker's not working, so I'll be back. Alright guys, so I was able to fix it very easily. It was actually not even an issue inside the door. The wiring in there all looks good. You guys can kind of see a little bit in there of the wiring, but overall it looked good. But in here, the problem was this. I'll go ahead and show you. And this is what the inside the tombstone, and I know it looks like a nightmare, all the wiring, but back here, that's the way I have my connections. So this is actually loose. This connector was loose, but these are the speaker wires that go to either side of the door, as well as one to the subwoofer in the rear. And this is the connection that goes to the amplifier right there. So the amplifier then feeds my Marine stereo here, and all of this is a switch here that lets me control the power, as well as the Raspberry Pis here, and it goes to the 7-inch display and the display module back here to display the Raspberry Pi. And that's kind of it. And then I do have this sick charger for my phone. It's MagSafe compatible, so the phone just sticks on it and it will charge my phone while I drive. That way I don't have to hold it. And figuring out a place to place your phone in the Miata is extremely valuable, especially in a manual one. I used to always struggle having to hold my phone while driving. Well, now I can just go ahead and put it right here, and it just sticks magnetically. And there we go. I closed it up, and one of the good things that I recently did is I haven't fully installed these. I do want to rivet them on to here in the dashboard and the tombstone. But instead of always having to go through the bolts up here and down here, now I just have this whole thing held on with these two clamps. And you guys can find a link on the description for these, but I really like these. They're very cheap. I think like $5 a pair. The tape, and I've had them on here for a long time, I think a year, and now I can just very quickly remove it and access all the stuff. And in the future, the goal is to go through that wiring, minimalize it, clean it up, and I want to keep the battery in there. And I'll do that when I replace the air flap box that I have here, because I have the stock one with the one that I made that I cut out all the flaps in the bottom, and I made a lot of space. That way I have enough space in there for the battery and to do all the wiring and fuse boxes properly, because I want to relocate all of the wiring in the whole car to there and redo the wiring. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that when I was messing with the wiring, I plugged in the horn, automatically started going, and I do have an aftermarket Harbor Freight air horn, and it blew the fuse. And I have the tail lights in the same fuse, so here you guys can see me messing around, pushing the brakes in and testing the lights to see if they work. And they do. It's just the brake light actuation will not, because I blew the fuse. And here is after replacing the fuse. I didn't have a 15 amp one, but I had a 20 amp, and you can see the brake lights working again. I'm just gonna go ahead and just not even plug the horn in again. The funny story is when I actually had to go to the rebuild inspection, on the way there I tested the horn and I blew the fuse, so I was worried that if they were to test the horn, I wouldn't have passed inspection. But here you guys can see the lights work flawlessly. Another quick little mod I want to do this episode is just remove this little trace here. Yeah, let's get rid of this thing. I'm gonna install this BB-8 one, so let's go ahead and do it. And there we go, guys. Fully installed. It smells citrusy. Alrighty, well, that's been a nice one in this episode. Catch you guys in the next one.